Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Eternal Beast podcast with your host, Kenny. It's good to be with you, and whether you're coming from YouTube or Spotify, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be a part of this conversation. If you are indeed coming from YouTube, make sure you smash that like button, click subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'd love to have you stay a part of the many other different conversations that I have on this podcast. And if you're on Spotify, feel free to download the episode for free and get plugged into all the different social medias that you'll see pop up on the screen here if you're on YouTube. Without further ado, I want to go ahead and jump into the conversation of this episode and give my thoughts on the current situation that is happening in Afghanistan. Now, to kickstart this conversation, just want to let everyone know who are new to the podcast and may not know me personally. I am a U.S. military veteran, U.S. Navy to be exact. I joined in 2004 when the memories of September 11th were still very fresh in our mind. I joined right after high school. I didn't wait. I was ready. I was pumped up, amped up to serve my country, give my life if need be, and wanted to go and help find the terrorists and kill those who are responsible for the tragedy that happened in New York on September 11th, 2001. And I don't know if I would have joined the military if September 11th didn't happen. Possibly. But it definitely did propel my decision making to, don't wait around, no hesitation, finish high school, and go straight into the military. I was assigned to a forward deployed aircraft carrier based out of Japan. And what that basically means is forward deployed aircraft carriers or any ships in the U.S. Navy typically means that you'll be out to sea from anywhere of 6 to 9 months out of 1 year. So needless to say, I saw a lot of water in the time that I spent in the Navy. And I joined right after the particular ship that I was assigned to, which was the USS Kitty Hawk. They were just coming back from deployment from Iraq, actually, in that time. And so by the time I got to the ship, I came into contact with a lot of weary faces. That deployment was, I believe, 7 or 8 months long, in late 2003 into mid-2004. So I go onto the ship. Like I said, I'm gung-ho, I'm ready. And then all of a sudden I get hit with reality. And started meeting sailors who were like, hey, man, good luck, young buck. Welcome to the party. And so that's kind of where it all began. And perhaps I'll make another podcast talking specifically about things that I experienced in the U.S. Navy, the things that I saw, the places I went, how the U.S. Navy kind of helped me evolve into the person that I am today, the ups, the downs, the positives, and a lot of negatives. But like I said, perhaps I'll make another podcast about that if you're interested, and I'll do so. Back to the topic at hand in Afghanistan. I wanted to just let you guys know that I'm not just some random guy doing podcasting, giving my opinion, a political opinion. This is a political opinion nonetheless, but from a veteran who did serve during the beginnings of the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, I would say definitely in the beginning, 18, 19 years old, I didn't have a political opinion. I had no idea what politics mean. I didn't care. For me, my mind was quite simplistic. It was, serve the country, wear the uniform, be proud, and fight for democracy and kill our enemies. I mean, that was pretty much it. When I went through basic training, they drilled that into our heads constantly, even in the Navy, constantly driven home. I remember they played a video of the Twin Towers collapsing about a week before I graduated basic training. And they wanted to make sure that there was no doubt in our minds of the reasoning on why we were joining. So as time slowly went on, I would say about the 2-year mark in the Navy is when I started to develop certain political opinions and started learning a lot. And by the time I got out and started traveling the world, living abroad like I am currently doing, now going on 16 years of doing so, I'm much more well-rounded and grounded in my beliefs. And I have a much stronger political opinion. And that opinion is actually quite simple. I don't believe in the U.S. military being the policeman of the world. I believe that when you spend billions and trillions of dollars of taxpayers' money, investing that money into foreign lands to impose your will, that's a bad thing. And obviously that's a situation where you are affecting the tax-paying system. And for me, that's a situation of taxation without representation. And although we try our best to support, all the people that go in and serve the military, and we wish them no ill will, I think it's better that they come home and protect our shores in America. And not to beat a dead horse, but history does repeat itself. And we find ourselves in a situation no different than the Roman Empire, for example. They had an ideology of, we have to go into these foreign lands and we have to make these tribes, people civilized. We have to show them the Roman way. And what America is doing is literally no different. And so what I learned over the years is not only the situation of taxpayers' money, the millions and billions and trillions of dollars spent there, the resources, the manpower, the people that lost their lives over there, American personnel, civilians, military alike, Afghan, Pakistan civilians. It adds up over time, becomes redundant, disheartening that we somehow turned a blind eye to it for 20 years. Now, I would agree that the original intention of what happened on September 11th and going in there and finding who did it, we got to track them down and kill those who were responsible. I don't agree with it in the aspect of just having the U.S. president making an executive order and we can just barge into a country and just start killing people. And the reason why I point that out is because the last time the American government, aka Congress, which according to the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, war can only be declared through it being passed through Congress. And the last time that happened was, I believe, after Pearl Harbor, which happened on December 7th, 1941. And the president declared that Congress declares war, and it was passed easily. And we went to war. We went to the Pacific Theater and to Europe. But that was the last time Congress actually came together and declared or made a declaration of war. So every conflict after that, right, Korea, Vietnam, conflicts in Panama, other places in Africa, Desert Storm, Iraqi freedom, Afghanistan, and etc., has all been done through executive orders by the President of the United States. Now, that's a whole separate issue, which I find atrocious and in some ways very treasonous. But that's just another topic once again. Honing in on Afghanistan, the reason why I bring up the idea of, okay, you want to go in and you want to find the people responsible, aka Osama bin Laden, right? That's the guy that we were trying to track down, essentially, because he's the one who orchestrated the attacks. That's what we're being told, anyway, that he's the one responsible for organizing and orchestrating the attacks on the Pentagon and the Twin Towers and wherever else they were trying to attack on September 11th. And we went in there, spent, I believe, at least 6-7 years, and we found bin Laden. We killed bin Laden, I believe, in 2011, maybe. So he's been dead for a decade, but we're still there. So while a lot of Americans are willing to say, well, yeah, it's kind of weird that they're not declaring war through Congress and it's an executive order by George Bush, but it's for a good cause, it's fine. We're willing to accept it as long as we go there and kill bin Laden. Well, then we did it, and that was through Obama, right? And we accomplished that mission, but then we stayed an extra 10 years. And that's another situation, right? Where right now, Joe Biden is basically being shredded to pieces in the media. I don't have an issue with that personally. I'm not a Joe Biden fan. I'm not a Donald Trump fan either. But it started way before Joe Biden did. Obviously, Obama before him. And then, of course, we have George Bush, who was the original creator of Afghanistan and Iraq. So then you ask yourself the question, well, what are we doing there after bin Laden's dead? Well, there are a lot of different theories. Okay, it depends on which rabbit hole you want to go down. We're there to control natural resources, minerals, opium, many other theories. But without getting into those particular topics and just keeping it simple for the broad spectrum of the audience, I think it's very simple. Like I mentioned earlier, with the Roman Empire, just expand because we think we can. We have the power to do it and control a region for a certain amount of time, however long it takes to accomplish whatever objective that the public may or may not know. More than likely, we don't know. And we accomplished that objective. And so Biden finally pulled the plug. Now, of course, I find it heart-wrenching, extremely sad, witnessing the hundreds and thousands of Afghanistans stranded in Afghanistan trying to get out of there as the Taliban takes over the region. We go in, find bin Laden, kill him, essentially defeat the Taliban, and then we let the Taliban back in to take control. And in the meantime, civilians are being killed in the process of trying to leave Afghanistan, and U.S. military personnel are dying as well, attempting to leave Afghanistan. What's shocking here is that we didn't learn our lesson from Vietnam, which was also a policing act, a war that was not declared by Congress, a war that a lot of people would suggest was a false flag. It all started by the incident in the Gulf of Tonkin, I believe. And so we used that to propel ourselves into war, to support the South Vietnamese, and in this instance, to support the Afghanistan government against the Taliban. It's no different. We don't learn from history. The American people don't learn from history. They're okay with repetition. So here we are, leaving Afghanistan, hundreds if not thousands. We probably don't know the real number of civilians killed during that whole process of leaving. 13 military personnel were killed, most of them under the age of 21 probably. And a fellow sailor as well. He was a corpsman, a.k.a. medic. I posted a photo of him on Instagram. And to top it off, we left billions of dollars worth of military equipment, Black Hawk helicopters, body armor, weapons, planes, ammunition, you name it. Billions of dollars worth. So I go back to the question of U.S. tax-paying dollars going in to support a war that has basically collapsed and crumbled. 20 years worth of American lives lost, Afghanistan civilians' lives lost. Then we just pack up and go home and leave billions of worth of equipment that is bought and paid for essentially by U.S. taxpayers. So all that money, that hard-earned money that you've been putting in that 9 to 5 every day, paying your federal tax, you might as well just wipe that money with your ass, because that's where it's at. It's in Afghanistan right now. So there's a lot of different branches to this tree that expand out and extend out. It's not as simple as what a lot of people think it may be. And my idea of, okay, if the direct question is, well, I want to hear your opinion exactly on should the U.S. leave or not leave. Well, they should have left 10 years ago. If the objective was to go in, dismantle the Taliban, and kill Osama bin Laden, that mission was accomplished in 2011. But then we stayed another 10 years. So yeah, the longer you stay in a region, the longer you stay, the more difficult it is to leave. That's why we stayed so long in Vietnam as well. Because you build relationships, you build trust, you make friendships, you make promises you can't keep. So when it's time to leave, it makes it extremely difficult. And people suffer. So that's the situation that we're currently going through right now. Now, in regards to my thoughts on Afghanistan alone, the Taliban, what's going on there, what I think about it, very slippery slope about that. I will say this. Do I think what happens there is bad, in regards to how women are treated, the Islamic State there, and the way that they conduct themselves with their laws? Do I think it's bad? Yeah, I think it's unfortunate. The amount of atrocities that happen there, that happen in Pakistan as well, Saudi Arabia, all over the Middle East. I find it very troubling. And unfortunately, though, however, and I say this with the utmost respect possible, it's just not our business. Simply put. And you may say, well, why would you say that? Somebody's got to step in and help these people. Well, in this region in particular of Afghanistan, it simply just cannot be conquered. History is replete with examples displaying that. And these people in these regions have been living and operating the same way for thousands of years, even without it being an Islamic country and having extreme laws. And, I'm not saying that all, for the record, I'm not saying that all Islamic people are like that or all Islamic countries display harsh laws. I'm simply saying in this region they do. But even without it having these harsh Islamic laws, they still have been a very close-knit and, I would say at times, turbulent culture, and also very defiant to other cultures and countries and empires coming through that region. I invite everybody to look up a book called the Afghan Campaign. It's a very interesting book, and it's a book written by the same guy who wrote, I think it's called The Hot Gates, and it's about the 300 Spartans fighting the Persians in Thermopylae. He wrote another book called The Afghan Campaign. And he described the time where Alexander the Great, which was another 100 years after, I believe, or so, after Thermopylae and the Persians attacking Greece, around 150 years later, Alexander the Great went into that region And it's a whole book written about how it didn't matter how well his army was trained. And at that time, Alexander the Great's army was the most and best trained military probably in the world, or at least in that region. So the book explains on how he tried to conquer that region just like he conquered everywhere else in Asia and the Middle East. And he couldn't do it. The Romans have been in through there after the Greeks were gone and conquered. And in modern history, the Russians were there, and then the Americans went in there. The region and the people simply cannot be conquered. It's as simple as that. We refuse to learn and understand history. People want to have this tribalism and feel like they got to pound their chest and think, oh, well, they couldn't do it, but I can do it. You know, the bravado and the egotistical nature of governments imposing their will. It's really, from my personal opinion, you may disagree, but I really see no difference than any other empire coming through that region or any other region to impose their will, spread democracy, quote unquote, or any other system of belief. The end is always tragic. People die, people suffer. Would people die and suffer if the Americans didn't go in? Yeah, probably. But they've been dying and suffering for thousands of years before America was even a country. It's the way these people choose to live. The difference is that we have the internet, we have media, we know, we hear things. It pulls on our heartstrings. We feel like we got to do something. Well, we did. We spent 20 years there, and what was the result? They probably hate us more now than when they attacked us on September 11th. Because we abandoned them. In their eyes, we abandoned them. We went in there with empty promises, packed our stuff, and left. Packed our personnel and left, because we left all the military stuff there, you know, as I mentioned, helicopters, Humvees, body armor, weapons, ammunition. For who? For the Taliban? For what? To protect what? I thought we were in support of the Afghanistan government. So what are these weapons being left there for? Which they knew the Taliban were going to seize. So what, we're not in support of the Afghani government, or we're actually in support of the Taliban now? Because they're the new government. You see, a perpetual cycle of confusion and disproportionate use of power. And so for the better part of probably 5 or 6 years, I've been advocating bringing the troops home, protecting our shores, using our tax money, hard-earned money from American citizens, more responsibly. And all the wasted spending and, like I said, man-hour and time and lives lost, in the end, was it worth it? Those lives that were lost by American personnel, was it justified? Was it a dignified reason? Did they die in vain? I don't think we can ask that same question for those American soldiers who went to Europe or Japan. I don't think we don't have to ask that question, do we? Because that war was declared. That war was a war that we tried to stay out of and was dragged into. Since then, we've been going to places and imposing our will. So those are just my thoughts in a nutshell. I'm sure there are many people who probably don't agree with me, and perhaps some that do. Some may not even have an opinion at all and are just trying to educate themselves on the situation. But that's one thought. That's some thoughts from a veteran who joined, as I said, in 2004 during the peak of the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan. And now that it's all finally done, on one hand, I'm relieved, I guess, because we're finally out of there. But the way that we left was completely irresponsible. It was handled very poorly, with the amount of equipment that was left behind, worth billions of dollars, now in the hands of the Taliban. If we didn't know that this was going to happen, everybody that was involved needs to be fired on the spot. And that includes Joe Biden. And I don't know. I don't know if it's a situation, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If we didn't know, then it's incompetence. And if we did know, then it's treason, in my opinion. And hopefully something is done about it. I feel like it could have been handled much better. I think we should have left a decade ago. Make sure that everything is in place and orderly, and the right people are in the right places. It just, I guess from afar, I may not have all the information, but from what I see, it seems chaotic. It seems like at the drop of a hat, we just said, you know what, we don't want to be here anymore. Let's get our people out, get all of our military out. Whatever we leave behind, it is what it is. Let's just get the hell out of here. And after spending, as I said, 20 years in a region where you've built trust, you've made promises to people, you shatter that, you destroy that, you literally break all that trust and destroy all that work that you have been trying to build. And as I said earlier, the longer you stay, the harder it is to leave. No different than any other relationship. The longer you're in the relationship, the harder it is to leave. And my thoughts are with the Afghani people, the ones who are innocent, the ones that want a better government, want a better life for themselves and their family. And I'm hoping for the best. And we'll just have to wait and see. But those are my thoughts in a nutshell. And I appreciate everyone who has stopped by to listen to my thoughts. I understand this is a very sensitive and deep topic. If people want me to discuss this further and make a part 2, let's say, then I'm more than able to do it. I didn't want to make this podcast episode too long. I was trying to keep it under 30 minutes or so and just give you guys my quick thoughts, a little bit of background and just some quick thoughts about it. So as I said, if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you like these types of conversations. And also, if you're on Spotify, go ahead and download the episode and keep following me on Spotify as I continue to make more episodes. This channel is dedicated to not only topics like this. This is a very sensitive and tough topic to talk about and listen to for a lot of people. But I do talk about a lot of other stuff. So make sure you subscribe. As the saying goes for my channel, the slogan is, if it's about life, we'll talk about it. Thanks so much for dropping by, everyone, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.